All right, so I just wrapped up a launch for one of my clients where we cash collected over $102,000 in just 5 days. Total revenue was around $123,000. And you know what? The crazy part was we originally marketed this offer as only 15 spots, and literally in 48 hours, we filled up all those spots. The man was saying that we had to open 10 more spots and capped it at 25 students total. And we still, capped all those spots. All right, so here's a WAP screenshot right here. As you can see, roughly around $103,000 of how much we cash collected. It's a little more here just because he had a low ticket offer, so he was getting some revenue from the low ticket. And yeah, so this is basically the message from the client. As you can see, he was very happy. Said that the team, everyone did an exceptional job, and he didn't honestly expect to get these type of results. For example, for some context, this was his first time doing high ticket, and honestly, he had a lot of limiting beliefs coming into this. Just he never thought he could charge anywhere like over $3,000 for an offer. And what's even crazier is we literally were maxed out. We had to close at 25. We couldn't take on any more people, which we definitely could have made more money, got more spots filled. But I respect it because he actually cared about the people that were joining the program and he wanted to get them results. So it's understandable. But next time we do rip this, you guys will see even crazier case studies. And yeah, now this client wasn't some like massive influencer, with millions of followers or anything or thousands. He was literally just a trader with about 25K on Instagram, 7K on YouTube. So yeah, as you can see, not too big social. So if you're sitting here thinking that, you need a huge audience to do like, 6 figures in a week or something like that, this video is going to show you, exactly why you're wrong. And so yeah, in this breakdown, I'm about to walk you through the entire launch process that I use and pretty much how we hit capacity. I'll show you the exact story sequences we use, the Telegram strategy that we use, and how we pretty much pre-qualify leads to close the warmest buyers first, and basically how we were able to fill all 25 spots so quickly. And look, real quick, you watch this and you think like, yo, this is fire, but you don't want to do all this work yourself. Don't worry, I run a pretty much an info product agency where I literally will plug this entire system into your business. And yeah, you're interested, links in the description, click the first link below and, just learn more about me and book a call. And yeah, let's get into it anyways. So let's go into phase one, shall we? So the first phase is honestly one of the most important phases. You don't want to skip, you go straight into like marketing thing. You want to set up the right foundation to make pretty much everything else in here work. So the first thing we did, we sat down with Chris for a full offer audit. And this was really a deep dive session where we pretty much mapped out everything from his business and just his ideal client, his ICP. And yeah, as you can see here, this is what the offer audit looked like. We just asked questions like, exactly what his niche is, which is trading, specific problems he solved for the people in this niche, the exact goals that, people in his niche would have, is the consequences, roadblocks, the current situation, desired situation, what do they truly want, yada, yada. Step two, just define the client outcome. Basically, how can we make this promise tangible? Where will someone be after we solve the problem? Things like that, just really finding out like from A to Z, how to get them from point A to point B and all the above. So that's what we did. That was like the first layer. And then what we did next is we sat down with Chris again and extracted pretty much his full story because, people don't just buy into a system, they buy into the person. People buy into people and they need to know who you are, where you came from and why you're qualified to help them. So the second part is literally a personal story. We had a set of questions. We sat down and literally had him pretty much answer all these questions to him. So basically like, first question, what was a defining event that set him off in the path he's on now? What was painful about his life situation that made him want to change? What was about his situation? And, you kind of get the point, basically like hardest part. What was his goal? What did he want to achieve? What did he try in the past? What did he experiment with? Just pretty much all types of questions you can ask that you can pretty much leverage in your future marketing. And yeah, when we got his personal story done and the offer audited, this document pretty much became our North Star for pretty much everything else. Like literally every email, every Instagram story, every sales call script, pretty much everything was built around speaking to this exact person in the offer audit we did. And his personal story became the backbone of pretty much all the content. We used it in his, email sequences, Instagram stories, the free masterclass, which I'll talk about later on, the sales pitch deck, and even like the pre-call page and things like that. Because when people, heard Chris's story, they saw themselves in him and they saw where he used to be and how if he could break through, then they could, as well, pretty much. So yeah, that's pretty much phase one. Once you set all the foundation, we kind of go into actually starting the whole thing, which is I call phase 1.5. So the first things first, what we want to do is do market research. So how I do market research, so this is kind of going to be all over the place. So this is the type form we use for the actual waitlist itself, but I use the data from the waitlist as a market research as well. So pretty much when we send out the waitlist for people to apply, for the program and join the waitlist. These are kind of questions asked, just how old are they? What's their long-term goal with trading? What's the biggest obstacle preventing them from, making profits, which is what, traders do. How much capital do they have currently to invest into themselves in trading? And what type of guidance would best fit their needs? So this is technically in phase 2, but this is part of the market research that we utilize. And yeah, so to craft, once you get a lot of data, you can actually craft the offer. So, doing the offer audit also helped in creating this irresistible offer. Honestly, I just use this timeless framework from, the GOAT himself, Alex Hormozy, in the book $100 million Offers. And pretty much it's just like, I help your specific audience achieve specific result in a specific time frame without whatever the roadblock is, guaranteed or compelling guaranteed. And honestly, yeah, the price point for these high tech offers should be anywhere between 3 and 6K. And yeah, for our offer, we ended up charging 5K, and this was pretty much what our offer is. We help traders get consistent funded payouts in 90 days using, unique mechanism, which is the VWAP Wave protocol. And it's basically designed to help them pass prop firm evaluations, which is basically in trading is, you're trading with simulated money. And as long as you pretty much keep winning, making profits, then you get like a payout from, all those profits you make on the prop firm pretty much. And then we had a pretty nice guarantee, which is they don't secure a funded payout within 90 days. We'll continue working with them until you do. So pretty much the guarantee, how we framed the marketing was that they were guaranteed a funded payout. So yeah, that's kind of how the offer worked. And yeah, so for example, one of the questions you recall here is, how much capital do you have currently to invest into yourself in trading? This was a really good question to have because this allowed us to see how sophisticated his audience was and how much they would be able to invest into the offer. So as you can see here, this is the data we got. And we saw that, pretty much over half his audience is somewhat qualified. Like you see here, those who chose over $8,000 to invest were over 70 people. So yeah, that's why we decided and came with the price point 5K because we knew this audience could afford it. And yeah, that's kind of phase 1.5. Now let's go into phase. All right. So now that we have the market research down, we crafted our irresistible offer. Now we can kind of go into phase 2. And this phase 2 was pretty much, actually marketing it, building anticipation and nurturing these leads once the waitlist was announced. And yeah, this was about like a 19 to 21 day process. I don't know exactly what the day was. And yeah, this process was split into a couple of sections. So the first portion is basically building intense anticipation. Excuse me. So day 1, these are kind of what the stories are posted. Just, hey, letting them know that they need to be ready for something. Day 2, again, I like to do polls. If you see a familiar common thing, is just polls help increase engagement rate, or yeah, just engagement rate. And that basically means more people will view your story. So I typically like to do a lot of polls in my stories. So yeah, as you see, each day was pretty much hyping it up, letting people, be ready about the offer. So we did this for about just 3 days. Day 3 is when we officially announced the waitlist and let people, apply and join the waitlist. So those first few days was building anticipation. And then now that, the waitlist is now officially open, people could join the waitlist. This is what I did the following days. And then, yeah, for context, pretty much the emails we were posting daily to join the waitlist was pretty much all these related to the stories. So pretty much the stories you see, it was pretty much then integrated into, email copy framework. So I'm not going to show you what the emails look like, but yeah, letting people know about September 22nd. As you can see here, really like to, reinforce the date as well. It's like kind of like a movie trailer type of vibe where, they always push that date, exactly what we're doing. And, just getting more people to join the wait list, showing results, things like that. And yeah, as you can see, just add a little Canva action artwork, you can say, to make the slides look prettier and, good. People like, visually appealing story. And then I think on day 7, this is when we officially announced a free class. This is really strong and powerful because you want to have in the middle of the week, like the second week of like hyping up the waitlist on your like your IG stories, you want to officially announce like the like some sort of free class, masterclass. And the reason why you want to do this is because one, I'll talk more about it later, but yeah, this is when we talked about the free class. And yeah, this was like day like 7. The day 8 was like the day of the free class. We just posted the story, letting people know to join. And then yeah, these are pretty much all the stories. I won't have to fully get into it, but you guys kind of get the drift of these stories. It's just pull, and then I usually just announce the date that September 22nd in this case for them to take action. Then I'll occasionally like do some Canva artwork and make it look nicer and things like that. But you guys get the pattern pretty much. I don't have to go through all the stories. And yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much what we did for stories. And yeah, so that's pretty much all of phase 2. And then now let's go into phase 3. So now we're pretty much promoting the stories, are promoting the waitlist, we're getting people on the waitlist. You don't want to just leave it there. Now you want to actually pretty much nurture the people on the waitlist pretty much every day. We're hitting them with like, Instagram stories, like the ones I was showing you, just constantly showing results, things like that. And, countdown reminders pretty much. And then emails, since on the waitlist type form, we collected emails, we pretty much nurture them, sending them an email every day to the waitlist. And these emails, pretty much what they did was pre-handle any objections they might have had, and a lot of limiting belief breaking kind of emails, just, emails that these traders, since I worked with them, I typically know kind of like the beliefs they have, and we're pretty much breaking those beliefs. And then lastly, just spamming them with tons of like social proof and case studies of past results. And yeah, you can say these emails did fairly well, high open rate, high 50s, things like that. So we were doing that for the nurturing. Now, the most important thing, honestly, that I really helped was that pretty much we did a Telegram, exclusive Telegram. So pretty much everyone who joined the waitlist, they got an invite to a private Telegram group exclusively for waitlist members. And inside that Telegram, we're pretty much indoctrinating them and hyping up the offer. And yeah, the goal of the Telegram, putting them inside the Telegram, was simple. It was just getting maximum consumption for them. I was pretty much posting every day, and pretty much the more time someone sees your message, hears your story, see your results, they're going to be, more likely to buy. So these are some examples of what I did. Posted on the Telegram was just, announcing the date, just spamming the date, hyping people up, things like that. Announcing, special direct access, things like that. Showing them sneak peeks of the offer, exactly what they're getting, things like that. And again, pretty much it's what I'm doing IG stories, but now onto Telegram pretty much. So I'm saying like, hey, the offer is December 22nd, is like, 11 days away, things like that. So that's pretty much what we posted on Telegram. And then lastly, to what really nurtured the leads, if you recall what I was talking about earlier, was that free trading masterclass. So midway through the nurturing phase, we hosted a free live masterclass. And but here's the catch: we framed it as only waitlist members could attend. As you can see here, only sending link to waitlist members. And this honestly did three things for us. One, it rewarded people for, joining the waitlist. So it built like, a lot of exclusivity. Two, it got more people to sign up for the waitlist. When we first announced the free class, we got like a huge spike in people joining the waitlist just because they're like, oh shit, this dude's hosting, something free of value, and, they want to be a part of it. And then lastly, it gave us a chance to show, Chris, the client, pretty much his expertise live, and pretty much warm these leads, nurture them even more by giving free value and pre-selling them, hyping them up on the offer. And things like that. So that's pretty much what we did for the free trading masterclass. We simply just sent out some emails, sent out on Telegram and sent out on Instagram about the free masterclass. And yeah, as you can see, we hosted on Discord. We had hella people, over 170, I believe, max at peak, after only like one or two announcements. So it did fairly pretty well. And yeah, that was phase 3. So, all right. So now that we're done nurturing all the leads, we're getting really close now to the like official launch day. So let's go into phase 4. So what I did in phase 4 was what I called the early access strategy. And pretty much how that works is about a few days before the actual official launch on September, this should be 22nd. What we did was we started selling early access to the most qualified leads. If you remember that question I had on the waitlist form about investment capital right here, how much capital they have ready to invest in themselves, and you can see like all these applications right here, and those are that chose the max option, which is over 8,000. As you can see, there's over 70 people that chose that option. What we did really was we utilized it to its fullest potential, and I had the team pretty much dial up all those leads in that top first section of the most qualified leads. And yeah, what this did was it would first close the best buyers first. We pretty much started booking calls with people with the most money, and they pretty much had high intent, so those got prioritized, and they were really easy to close this because they had money. Second thing, what it did was, because we're getting all the, the highest quality leads out of the way before the official launch date, this allows us to open up more our calendar spots when the official launch date comes. So I did that as well. And then lastly, it just helps us find any bottlenecks early on before the official launch, and lets us learn like, common objections on sales call that we can utilize into the next phase that I'll break down on what we use with those common objections. So yeah, that's really crucial, honestly. And so after we finish wrapping up the early access strategy, we now come to launch day. September 22nd was when we announced the launch day, and I built like a simple, easy landing page, letting them know this is what the landing page looked like when they clicked onto the link, and then they would just fill out the types. And on launch day, we basically sent it out to 3 sources of people on the waitlist. So everyone who attended or everyone who applied for the waitlist got an email specifically for those on the waitlist. And this is kind of how I framed the email. Did fairly good. As you can see, 66% open rate, 36% click rate, pretty much. We did SMS blast to everyone in the waitlist as well. This is kind of what the message looked like right here. And then lastly, if you remember the Telegram I was referring, we also sent it to everyone on Telegram. So pretty much it was just all the warmest leads. The most warmest leads were the first one to get a spot, which is those on the waitlist. And then, yeah, we sent them to the Typeform application. They would answer a couple questions. And then the last step, we embedded Calendly into the Typeform, and they were qualified. They would be able to pretty much book a call. So yeah, that's pretty much how phase 4 worked. And now let's get into phase 5, the last phase. So pretty much after, Typeform was out, all that, we had overall in total, we had over, this is a little off. We had probably over like 70-ish, maybe 80 calls in total. The others were from just different calls from different offers. So, all right, now lastly, let's go into phase 5, shall we? So phase 5 is when, people started booking calls in total. This is a little off. We probably had like about 70 calls in total, maybe 80. And yeah, for this launch, we had a team of 2 dialers, people just calling up the most qualified leads and setters, things like that. And then we had 3 closers on the offer, taking the calls and closing deals. And yeah, pretty much initially we launched, our calendars were packed out. Even when we, pre-sold the early access, the calendars were still packed out like crazy. I remember one day we had like over 20 something calls, and I hit my PR day on the offer as well. I think we did like 44K that day cash. So yeah, things were pretty crazy. And yeah, and basically, so once we do get the booked calls, you don't want to just stop there. You want to have basically a post-booking sales process in place to keep these leads really warm, handle any objections they might have before their call, and basically our job is to make the closer's job as easy as possible so that when they're on the call, they're just like cashiers and just collecting money. And also make sure they show up. So the sales process, how it works really is after they book a call, they get sent to a pre-call page, and it basically looks like this, just congratulating them and letting them know they need to complete the next steps below or they're going to lose their spot. So the first step was watching the pre-call video. This video was probably like 5-6 minutes long, nothing crazy. It was just, hyping them up, telling them their next steps, what they do, letting them know to be on the lookout as, the team will be reaching out, calling them up to, just further qualify them if they're qualified and things like that. And then, yeah, then talking more about the actual offer itself. Then what we did was also step 2 was we created these short videos. So these short videos are probably like a minute, 2-minute max. And these were questions, if you remembered, when we did the early access strategy, I was telling you like one of the good things about doing this was to let us find any, bottlenecks that we may have and common objections from those sales calls. So I used literally all the transcript, all the recordings that we got from those sales call and just basically found out what the common objections were on those sales call. And then it was these 4 objections, just, probably common one you've seen in the past, how long until they see results, how much time they need to compete or commit each day, how is this different from other, mentorship programs, and do they need a lot of money to, start trading? So those are the four most common questions, and this really helped because before they even get on the call, now all their questions are answered, and they're not coming into the call confused or skeptical. They're coming now in, they're basically coming in ready to buy. As with these calls, what I've noticed is you don't want to have a call where your closer is like an educator. They're not answering questions like these on the call because that's bad. You don't want your call to be an education call where you give them, knowledge and things like that. The closer's job, as isn't to educate, it's to close these leads. So you pre-handle all of this, it makes your closer's life a lot easier. So that helped a lot. It also helped with the close rate and helped with the show rate. And then lastly, we had SMS and email reminders. So as soon as they book a call, they're also added to eight email sequence that fires over the next 48 hours. And literally, if you remember, we already are spamming them with emails every day. If they join the waitlist, literally nurture them already. Now they're getting even 8 more emails on top of that. And these emails aren't just like your regular bullshit reminder emails that you're doing. These emails are, again, based on actual objections we heard on the early access strategy. So common objections that are on these calls that we pre-handle were pretty much these questions right here. And then we packed them into emails. Then we also spammed and packed in a lot of case studies, social proof type of emails. So by the time they're on the call, we're already pretty much answering all the questions they have. And yeah, this process, really increases show up rate and close rate overall. So yeah, this was a ton of value, a ton of sauce. I literally broke down pretty much everything I did. So I hope you guys got some value from it. So yeah, if you're, a coach, a creator, consultant or whatever, and this sounds like something you want to implement, but you don't have the time or energy to be doing all this yourself, just click the link in the description, and we'll hop on a quick call if it makes sense for you. We can audit your business, look at your offer, look at your audience, and figure out the best way for you to help you scale. And yeah, honestly though, whether you work with me or not, I don't really care. You just got the full blueprint to doing six-figure launch in just 5 days. And yeah, now hopefully that gave you value. Operators, if you're watching, go use this strategy for yourself. And yeah, DM me on Instagram if you have any questions, anything like that. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.